All right, let's really get into the weeds on this one. Today we're doing a deep dive into the WolfPack SDI Output Card.
Hmm.
And when you're thinking about, a sports bar with 100 screens or a casino, the one thing you just cannot have is a black screen when you switch a source.
Enough for a millisecond.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So our mission here is to figure out how this one little component makes sure that whole video distribution system stays seamless and reliable.
Yeah, and this is such a crucial building block for those high-stakes environments. We're looking at a one-port 3G HDSD SDI compliant card.
And it's made for their modular matrix switchers, right? The 9x9, 18x18.
Yep, and the 36 by 36.
Right.
The whole point is to enable what they call true plug-and-play cross-point switching. So moving video from any input to any output just flawlessly.
So how does it solve that switching headache? I mean, flawless at that scale is really, really hard to pull off. What's the core performance hook?
Well, it comes down to their Swift Switch seamless switching engine.
Just okay.
And we're talking about speed that's, well, it's pretty much instantaneous, around 100 milliseconds with basically zero latency.
Oh.
The critical feature, though, is the clean video cut. It's true frame-to-frame switching, so you get absolutely no glitches.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting on the engineering side. For someone listening who doesn't live inside a server rack, how is that seamlessness even possible? What's happening behind the scenes?
It's basically a two-part trick. First, it executes what are called ED hops at the same time on both the input and the output.
That's the digital handshake between the gear. Okay.
Exactly. And second, it uses an internal frame buffer. You can think of the buffer as a kind of holding tank for the video signal.
Ah, like a little waiting room?
Precisely. The card scales the input, processes the signal right there in the buffer, and then it sets the output clock timing perfectly, so the signal is delivered completely synchronized.
And this works with all the standard SDI formats.
Yep, it auto-adapts to 3G HD SD SDI. Max resolution is 1080p at 60 Hz, and it supports all the key color spaces like RGB 444.
So speed and stability are covered. What about flexibility when you're actually installing it? I saw it has a dual output,
It does. You get two SDI outputs, and one can be used as a loop out.
which is great for what, local monitoring?
Fantastic for it. You can see the signal right there at the rack without needing another cable run across the room. Plus, you get a pretty good transmission distance, 70 meters, or about 220 feet, over standard BNC cable.
What I find fascinating is the balance here between automation and, well, manual control. If the card auto-adapts so well, why include an internal DIP switch?
That DIP switch is your insurance policy. I mean, 99% of the time, the auto-adapting works perfectly. But if you run into a weird display with a non-standard resolution, that auto-detection might fail.
And that's when you need the manual override.
That's your override. It gives you essential user control when you need it. And we should also mention the audio. It de-embeds the analog stereo audio, and you can route that completely independently of the video. Huge flexibility there.
And the integration, especially with other systems, seems like a big deal. You've got your front panel controls, a web GUI, but the RS-232 scripts really stand out.
Yes, providing those scripts is key. It means AV pros can write their own custom drivers for big third-party control systems.
Like Crestron or Control 4.
Exactly. Crestron, Control 4, AMX.
Yeah.
It lets you fold this hardware into a much larger ecosystem without a headache.
Okay, we have to pause here because before you plan a major system, there's a serious compatibility warning we need to get out there.
Absolutely. This is a massive, and I mean expensive, mistake waiting to happen if you're not careful.
So what's the deal?
These 1080p SDI cards, they play nicely with other 1080p cards. They can even work in the same chassis as the newer 4K 60 cards. But they absolutely cannot coexist with the older 4K 30 cards. That 4K 30 standard is the deal breaker. If you mix them, you're looking at systemic failure.
That brings us to reliability. The system's modular, it's hot swappable, which is great for repairs.
Right. If one card fails, you just swap that card, not the entire multi-$1,000 matrix.
But how does the manufacturer make sure it's solid before it even ships?
It comes down to their QA process. Every single unit goes through a 6-step testing process, and that includes a mandatory 24-hour aging process.
They cook it, basically.
They cook it in an aging room before the final inspection to make sure it won't fail on you prematurely.
So the big takeaway is you're getting a really high-speed, stable 1080p modular solution, and it's backed by a 2-year advanced replacement warranty, which is pretty solid.
It is. And here's a final provocative thought for you, especially if you're budgeting for a large installation.
Go on.
The company actually suggests that you get your hardware quote first, and then you go find a third-party installer just for the software and driver integration.
So separate the hardware cost from the integration labor.
Right. They claim by splitting those two, you could save thousands on a big system. It's a really compelling cost-saving strategy to chew on for your next deployment.